gonna make my face frames 1 3/4 inches wide. I'm gonna start out ripping up this plywood. It's gonna be a lot of waste because a lot of it's smashed up, but I should be able to get some pretty good strips out of it. And it's good plywood. It's like 12 ply or something, so it should stay free from twisting and warps and stuff, what I can get out of it. Well, I thought I had some good plywood here, but I was wrong. It just freaking came to pieces when I put the pocket screws in there, even though, you know, I did everything right. So we got to find something else to make face frames out of. I guess that stuff is firewood. Went to the depot this morning and bought some boards. I can't remember the last time I purchased boards at Home Depot. Now I buy plywood and I buy 2-bys and treated stuff, but just finished boards, whew. It's been, I don't even remember the last time. So 1x6, which is 5.5, yielded 3 1 3/4 strips with like 0 waste. Like there wasn't even a strip left over, so I got lucky with that. All right, let's try to build our first box again. I think I'm gonna switch to biscuits. Yeah, I'm gonna try biscuits. I think it might be a little quicker, easier. I've had this biscuit joiner a long time, like all my tools. But anyway, it's a Skill brand. I don't really like it. It vibrates a lot, so it's kind of hard to hold to a point, hold it steady. And the little guard is plasticky and kind of rinky-dink. Yeah, between the vibration and my hand shaking, sometimes it can be a challenge to get it where I want it. But it works. It cuts the biscuit. Well, no, it doesn't cut a biscuit. It cuts a slot for the biscuit. You got to buy the biscuits. But it cuts a slot. Using the smallest one that's available with the 1 3/4 face frames, it leaves a little bit sticking, a little bit of a groove sticking out on both sides. I have to show you what I mean. So this wouldn't be suitable for nice cabinets or kitchen cabinets or a nice piece of furniture, but for this shop built outside stuff, it's more than adequate, and they're strong. So I did a practice joint. It took a while to get the depth right, but yeah, it's okay. It's going to be fine. The height was already set pretty well, and luckily between this rib and this rib is 1 3/4, just a little bit more. So centering for the end cut is easy, and centering it for the side cut, I just need to line this up with this, and I don't have to do any measurement or marking or anything. Okay, so these go in the garbage. I just need to make sure that I cut them all with the face up or the face down. Either way, it doesn't matter, but they all need to be the same so that the reference will be the same and they won't be high and low. So the magic of these biscuits is that they're compressed, they're squashed. So when the moisture in the glue touches them, they swell up. So they set really fast. They just need minimal clamps. So we're gonna glue this first one together and move on to the second one. By the time we get the second one ready to be glued, I'll be able to take the clamps off the first one, probably. Nothing fancy here, putting in biscuits. Yellow glue, I'm using yellow glue. Any water-based glue is great. And I'm using a chip brush where I'll cut off most of the bristles because it needs to be stiff enough to get the glue down in that little slot. It's kind of narrow. So you just put the biscuits in place, tap them in. Once you tap them in, you better have it in the right spot because they grab fast. They swell fast and they grab fast. Not that you can't get them out. You can, but they don't want to come out. And then clamped them a little bit, squared it up, wiped off that dribblies, and put it to the side. Give it about 20 minutes. Oh, my frames are glued up, and I already found a problem. I made the frames of 1 3/4. It just seemed like the right size. But this one is 2 1/4, this existing one. And at 2 1/4, the door barely clears. So I'm gonna throw on another 1/2 inch on the bottom of this right here. Just glue it on, it'll be all right. First face frame is ready to go up. It fits, everything's lovely. Once I added a 1/2 inch onto it. So, do I screw it? Do I nail it with glue? Or do I just nail it? I think because these doors are so light, I'm just gonna nail these uppers. These down here I might use solid wood doors, so I might put some glue behind them, but not these uppers. face frames are done. So now my less than perfectly square cabinets are a little more perfectly square, probably not perfect. But we are ready to make doors and hang them. I need to stop and work on my chainsaws for tomorrow. So I'm going to the country. One of them's not running well and one of them's not running. Okay, both chainsaws running. Let's get back to this over here. Doors. These are the doors that were on this wall. None of them will fit anywhere, but the long sides, which was the stiles, are long enough to make those 3 doors down there, rails and stiles. It's already molded. I'll just have to cut the corners. I've got a jig for that fits the router table. I haven't used it in a long time, but I ought to be able to figure out, especially since I have the mold in here. So I'm going to take the hinges off. I'm going to put it on the table so I can cut them. And plywood is too small to use, at least in these doors. Of course, I won't throw it away, but that'll get me started on making these 6 bottom doors. Well, it's been a little while. Let's see if we can't figure out how to use this set. I don't even know how to open a box anymore. Luckily, I still have the instructions on how to use this set. Now the panel raising, well, I have used it. I didn't think I've ever used that. But these doors don't have raised panels. They just have plywood panels. But I will use these 2. One's for the cope and one's for the stile, one's for the rail. I've salvaged enough of the old stiles to do all the stiles on the new doors. This was poplar. I don't have scrap poplar. I must have bought this stuff new. But anyway, it's gonna be a lot of waste, but the doors were gonna be wasted anyway, so at least I got all the stiles. Now the stiles go top to bottom. Stiles go top to bottom. So they are the length of the height of the door. And the door has a 3/8 by 3/8 recess, top and bottom and side. So theoretically, the stiles should be 3/4 more than the opening. But practically speaking, you need a little clearance. So I'm gonna make them a 1/2 inch longer than the opening, and I'm gonna cut them all square on both ends. I'm figuring my bottom rails right now, and I have a formula to use. Fairly simple. It's the width of the door minus 2 stiles, in my case 4 inches plus 7/8. I'm always scared of math because I mess things up. So what I did was the opening is 47.5. No, the opening is 47, so each door is going to be 23.5, but it also overlaps at the end because you got that little overlap, so I allowed 1/4. So each door is going to be 23 3/4. So 23 1/4 is the half. You can't read my number. Don't read that. Don't read that. Okay, let's start over. Each door actually measures 23.5. I'm adding 1/4 for the overlap. If I use their formula, subtract 4 and add 7/8, the doors come out to 20 5/8. If I actually lay the door out from the center mark to the overlap and put a straight edge and measure this, I get the same thing. So that was a lot of talk, but I'm comfortable now that I know the width to cut the 4 stiles for the second box. I've cut them for this box, and I did the same way. I measured and did the math, and it came up. It matched up. So the coping bit is mounted into my homemade router lift. I drop this back in the hole and get the elevation of the bit set correctly, and then we'll need to set the fence correctly. I've got to set a height 7/8 inches to the top of the upper cutter. It's 7/8 above the sled. Alright, so that's done. Now we're going to put my fence together. Got some captured nuts in there. I got a fence. 2 bolts. I need to vacuum out that hole because it's full of sawdust. Okay, so I have the height to the top of this cutter set at 7/8 off my sled. According to the drawings. There's a bearing right there, and I got it flush with the fence. Well, pretty close. By moving this in and out and then tightening the 2 bolts on the captive nuts, so slid these wooden things in as close as I dare without them hitting. And then I almost threw this contraption away because I couldn't remember what it was. It's a little piece of plastic that I cut, that I 3D printed with my saw back then, before there were 3D printers, and it kind of fits right there, but it's loose. So I used my kettlebell attachment to hold it in place. So I think we're ready. I got lots of scraps to play with. Let's make a cut. Let's turn it on. See if it squalls. Give it a shot. All done. All the ends are done. Now I got to change the bit to the one to rip this joint. That was pleasantly easy, surprisingly easy. So I didn't really 3D print this. 3D printers weren't invented when I made this, and that's not an exaggeration. So this was a part of a vacuum cleaner floor sweep attachment, I think, and I just cut it and I ripped it and shaped 2 blocks so it fits in there, and it almost snaps into place pretty well, but it's a little loose, so I use my little third hand here to hold it. Okay guys, this might not be much of a step for a lot of carpenters, but I am super happy with the way it fits. And it fit in the hole. Now I still have to round, see this corner's rounded over, I'll still have to do the other 3 sides, maybe not the middle, these sides for sure, and I still have to plow this joint, 3/8 by 3/8 joint in the bottom and the top so it fit. But I got my measurements from my plywood. Let's cut 2 panels and we'll put these 2 doors together. I think I experienced my first tariff this morning. This little round-over bit from Home Depot, 50 bucks. I was shocked. It's made in Italy. It says that somewhere, right here. Made in Italy. Man, luckily it'll last me for years and years and years, if I have that long. So I cut the edges, I guess you call it a rabbit, with 2 passes on the table saw, one with the door panel laying flat, and then I came back after I did them all on the flat and stood the panels up and did it again and got my 3/8 by 3/8 groove for the doors to fit into the face frames. Then I put the pairs of doors up in the holes to make sure that they were going to fit. They need to be a little loose. They need to have movement up and down and left and right, so that they'll work when you put the hinges on. And I don't want to have to cut them after I varnish. I want to make sure they're all good before I varnish. I gave the doors a decent sanding, and now I'm going to varnish the trim or the perimeter with this old marine varnish that my friend gave me or willed to me. This can was opened in the spring of 1915 or 2015. This one was 13. This is really dark, but I didn't think I have enough, so I put some of this in there and stirred it up. So now I have enough, I'm sure, to do all the frames front and back, and I'm hoping it's dark enough so that the different colored woods will kind of blend together. We'll see. Had a little excitement. I was upstairs taking my little after lunch snooze, and I heard it raining, and it was pouring down rain, and I had all these panels face up facing the sky, so I had to run out and get them. And I don't think they suffered any damage. I was kind of hoping to paint them this afternoon, the panel, the inside part, but they're gonna be wet. Probably best not to do that. Got soaking wet though. And then I ordered these hinges for the solid wood doors this morning. Some guy in a car just drove up and dropped them off. Amazon, how do they do it? I don't know. Good Saturday morning to everybody. The upper doors are ready to go up. Probably could use a sanding and another coat, but that's probably not gonna happen. Probably could use another coat of paint. Probably not gonna happen. They're going up. So I have all the old hinges, plus some, so I should be able to pick and choose. I have enough hand-me-down hardware. So we're gonna prep the doors here on the table. I got a pad so they won't get scratched up. Then we'll put them up one by one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 matchy. First 2 hinges installed on the first door. It doesn't really matter where they go within reason. There was already a hinge there, so the holes were there. So I put this one there, and then I put a stick and I marked it. So they're all gonna go the same dimension from the top and the bottom for a nice, pretty uniform look. Now we're gonna decide where to put the handle. It could be kind of toward the bottom because these are upper cabinets. And they should all be the same from the bottom, so let's decide and drill some holes. This is my procedure for marking the handle. And I know they make all kind of fancy jigs that make this idiot proof. So these 2 things get it close. And then I use the miter square so that they're all the same distance from the outside edge. So now we have 2 crosses. That's a cross. Then we get a door handle because they're not all the same. There's a pretty good difference between some of them. I don't know if people have bent them in the past to make them fit. If they're just made that crappy, they feel pretty good. I think they're brass. Anyway, take the screws out. Come on, shaky. And then check it, because sometimes I have to go up or down This one looks like it is right on. Right on. So I'll drill the hole. Okay, well, to be honest, they don't always go that smooth. Sometimes I gotta waller the hole out or whatever. But this one's done. We're ready to hang it. Oh my, oh my. What's wrong with this picture? It ain't right. Fingers crossed. Okay, they're going to be too tight. Yep. I'm going to take it down, run it through the planer once or twice. I need to take off, I don't know, 1/16 or so, not very much. We have upper cabinet doors. They all work, they all self-close. I'm super happy. Super happy, and this cost like $8 because all I had to buy was one strip of that 3/4 by 6 white pine from Home Depot. I had the hinges, I had the hardware, the plywood panel came from the back of that big panel I took off the wall. I had the varnish, I had the paint. This is pretty sweet. I gotta do something with this switch. Controls the blower, but if I don't use the big blower for the miter saw vacuum, I don't really need it here. Put it to the ceiling right here. I could put it on the ceiling right here. That would be out of the way. It wouldn't hurt anything. Maybe I'll do that. If you watch my videos, you recognize this stuff. It's pecan. It's not the best stuff, and it's full of bug holes, but it'll work for those bottom doors. So I'm gonna plane it, just kind of see what I got, and then I'll glue it together, and then I'll rip it 15 inches wide, and I'll plane it again, and then I'll glue together whatever I have to do to make the width of the door. So put the earmuffs on, let's make some noise. I threw in this little clip just to show that the dust collection does work on the thickness planer. It just does not work on the table saw. So from those 3 rough cut boards, I have enough to do 57 inches of door, and that's exactly 57 inches, but I haven't even jointed these yet, so it's not gonna be enough. I'll have to plane one more, but I'm gonna go ahead and glue these up. And I got a bad board on that old existing door, so that'll be okay. I'll glue these up in sets of 4, and then rip them to 15 inches, run them through the planer again, and glue them to the final width, and then we'll be short. We got enough for 3 of the 4 doors. But this will keep me busy for a while, so this is cool. Out of the wide glue ups that I just made a couple hours ago, I was able to cut 2 14s. So that takes care of the doors for that middle panel. These need to be 15.5, and of course my planer only takes 15. But I'm gonna replane these and glue up and get one more door, and I'm gonna have to go get some more wood and start over. But I like this repetitive planing. If you pull the board out of my pile, none of them are perfect. They're gonna be twisted or warped or cupped. If you run them through the planer, they get better. But it doesn't fix them because the planer just squashes them flat and gives a mirror image to whatever goes in there within reason. It doesn't squash them 100% flat, but yeah. So if I glue 2 together, they're automatically better because they're trying to hold each other still. And if I glue them together and run them through the planer, well, they're a lot better because just it's the way it is. So if I glue them and plane them and recut them and glue them and plane them again, I end up with a pretty flat panel without having to joint them flat, because my little 6-inch joiner and me are not capable of really doing that. So we're gonna plane these until they're flat. They're over 7/8 now, so we got a lot we can play with. Okay, we're looking good. These two glue ups are enough for these two doors. These two are enough for these two doors. This glue up is to replace this door, which on the back was all funky. It's kind of splitting and stuff. So this one's firewood. This one's good, but that cheapskate that made it, look what he did. He snuck in a piece of pine in the middle, but it doesn't look that bad. And that cheapskate spliced two boards here and then snuck in a piece of fir, and it looks bad because it's a different thickness. So I'll have enough material to redo this. I'm just out of clamps. So I don't need to plane anymore. Everything's lovely. Let's say we got 30 and 3/16. Whoa, we got it exactly 30. Let's call it 30. Half of that's 15 plus a half, 15 and a half minus a 16th, 15 and 7/16. These two. Go cut those. With all the doors glued up and cut to width, ripped. Now it's time to cut them to length, and nothing does this better than my old clunky heavy table saw slide. Works good, and it gets a square cut, and it's nice and safe and quiet and lovely. So I cut them all to height. There's different heights, and now we're gonna put some hinges on. All right, we're gonna do some belt sanding and some random orbital sanding and put some kind of finish on these. And then I've got some European hinges. I need to learn how to put those in. But the doors are all cut to length and width. Should be good to go, except they need a little bit of sanding. I'm not gonna make them perfect, but they gotta be better than they are now. Same old dark varnish I'm putting on the doors. Put one coat front and back, and then later on I sanded the front coat with 220 and put a second coat on the front. It was kind of rough, and it was going to collect dust on the front, so that's what we did. These are European style hinges. They're super common now to everybody but me, but I have done them before, but it takes me a while to get my head wrapped around them. They take a special drill bit, a 35 millimeter, which I have, and you have to, and they have fancy jigs or for this to make it like idiot proof, but I don't have that. So I need to drill a hole, that 35 millimeter hole, between 3 and 7 millimeters from the edge, and I think that's a big deal, because I think for every millimeter you change it, it changes the door overlap a lot. So I'm going to set up and try to drill one, I guess in the middle, like 5 millimeters from the edge, and then see how that works. I got some scrap wood we're gonna play. Okay, so I have a guide. It's clamped. It can't move. So if I put the board here, that little mark is 5. So I'm gonna be like maybe 4.5. Let's give it a shot. And I need to go a 1/2 inch deep. So I'm gonna have to play with it a couple of times and get it a 1/2 inch deep, and I can set the depth with this little deal, but I don't know where to set it yet. So I drilled my hole. I had to go more than a 1/2 inch to get it to sit flat, and I screwed it into which would be the door, and then I set it on what would be the stile. Inscribe that pencil mark, and it is more like 5/8, and I'm shooting for a 1/2 inch. So I think I need to drill the hole closer to the edge. Now it has some adjustment in it, but I don't want to use up all the adjustment in one way. So I'm just going to reset up my little deal, and I'm going to drill another hole closer to the edge and see what that looks like. Okay, I got it figured out. I got it set. This is the door. This is the stile, although the stile is narrow. It's just for 10, and it opens up and it closes with a 1/2 inch overlap. But so we're good to go. I just need some varnish to dry. It's still too sticky. So I'm putting the hinges 3.5 inches from the top and the bottom, which the little paper said is standard. So I've got a mark here and a mark here, which is 3.5 inches from the center of the bit. And I'm not using the depth stop anymore because it just wasn't working. If I go to the top of this bevel, I got it made. Okay, that's it for drilling. Let's go put the screws on. I have 2 hinges, speed square, put the hinge in the hole and get it square. I'm getting it square with the speed square. And then I'm putting in the screws. And I'm trying to hold it square so it doesn't get whopped like it just did. So I'm loosening that screw. Hopefully lock it down with the other screw. Let's see. If you have the little fancy template, it helps you pre-drill these holes so that you don't have that problem that I just had. So it ended up square. Do this one. Okay, so we got a plan. From the top of the door to the top screw of the hinge is 2 3/4. They're all the same, hopefully. So, but I want a 1/2 inch. I want the door to be a 1/2 inch up here. So I'm gonna come down 2 1/4 and put a pencil mark, and that's where the first screw, the top screw, is gonna be when I hold the door up with my toe and get the screw started. See if that'll work. I don't know where I'm gonna put you though. See anything right here. We'll get cozy. Alright, get a screw. These are supposed to be stainless steel screws, but they're magnetic, so they're probably crappy stainless steel. This is kind of operation where my shaky hands make it a little bit challenging. Got it. Bottom. All right. Okay, all doors are hung. The gaps need adjusting, and the height needs adjusting, but they have little screws for that, so give me 5 more minutes and I'm going to show you again how pretty it is. Typical when you start out with a small project, it just ended up mudding the whole dang wall almost. I thought I was just going to do a few spots, but it'll be better in the long run. And a lot of it's going to dry quick, but some of this is pretty deep, so it's going to take, I don't know how long it's going to take. It's going to take a little while to dry so I can sand it. So my walls were still super rough. These are concrete forms that I drug home and pulled apart and put on the wall. They're all 3/4 inch plywood, every bit of my walls except a couple spots where I patched. So it makes it nice when you want to hang something, put up a fixture or whatever. You don't need to worry about where the studs are because you can screw to the 3/4 inch plywood. And I had some sheetrock mud and I said, what the hell, let me patch a couple of really bad spots. Ended up skimming more than I thought I was going to skim, but it looks better. White. Way too white for anything I own. I think this is tan. Let's mix it up and see what we get. Yeah, so it's a nice tan, but it's kind of thick. So, all right, let's dump them together, and that's what we're going to paint the wall. Okay, time to end this video. The wall is painted. The backboard splash thing is painted. The cabinet doors have another coat of varnish on them. Just put a coat of varnish on them, and they're working very well. Up top, now I got a lot of stuff in here, but nothing is really where it's going to be forever. I ain't got that far yet. But I do have old Yeller here is going back next door, and I got Mr. Blue, who came broken again, but I think I can fix it. Is that sad? Look at the box it came in. It's pitiful. The $800 saw. This little plastic thing is off, and I think it just snaps in there. I'm not sure. I'm gonna work on that after lunch. Well, I'm gonna go make some movies and I'll work on that in a little while. But this is a big deal. Set up the miter saw, get the tables level. And, oh, I didn't show something. Hold on. And check this out. Check this out. Look what Mr. Luke has done. Under counter lights for his old eyes that never can see anything. Pretty cool, huh?